Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sally and this is my channel Secret Life of a Seamstress, where I talk all about sewing and crafting and making a handmade wardrobe. Thanks so much for joining me today and I hope you're all doing really well. So today's video is going to be another kind of sorting day, but today I'm going to be doing my sewing area, sewing space. So I've been asked a couple of times to share my sewing space, but I've always kind of shied away from it because I feel as though for a lot of my videos it is there in the background and you've probably seen some of it on sewing days and things like that. But then when I thought a little bit more about it, I thought actually I have lots of sewing stuff and fabric and things stored all over the house. So actually today what I'm going to do is give you a little tour around my sewing area where I keep everything, how I keep everything, and I'm going to have a little tidy up as I go. So I really feel at the moment as though I want to get organised and decluttered and kind of tidied up for spring and summer sewing. I think it just always feels good to have a really nice tidy up and organised before you get going and as you change into the next seasons. So this is actually the third video in a small series of sort of sorting and organising and decluttering. So first of all, I did my patterns and sorted those all out. And I've also recently sorted out my wardrobe as well and got that all kind of decluttered and spruced up for spring and summer. So if you'd like to go back and watch those videos, I will link them in the description below the video. So I think what I'm going to do is just take you around and show you the different areas and places where I keep things in the messy state that they are. And then I'm going to have a go at just sorting through and organising things, and hopefully that will work out into some kind of reasonable video. Right, so I'm going to get on and I'll start with the area behind me here that you always see in my videos, and I'll just show you what's in those cupboards. Okay, so here is where I keep most of my sort of day-to-day sewing things, the things that I need quite regularly and the most important things, I would say. So this is a super old IKEA Kallax unit, I think it's called, and then you can see that I keep my sewing machine there. And then on the top there you can see I have another IKEA fabric box, and that has my overlocker in it and all the bits that go with my overlocker. And then next to that I've got my rulers and my work box, and then a couple more IKEA plant pot type things which I just keep scissors and pens and things like that in. So in the cupboard here I've got pins and clips, another file that doesn't really need to be in there actually, that was all my Etsy orders and invoices and things like that. The top box there has got cottons and things in, and then I've got that plastic box there with buttons in, and then below that I've got a box full of bindings and elastics and things like that, which really needs a good sort out. I have a box of doom. This is all of my fabric scraps and this really needs a sort out actually. I'm going to go through this and make a bag of scraps that are too small to use. I have one of those puffs, a closet core puff, which is already filled up with fabric scraps. So I don't really have anywhere else to put them. I don't really want to make another puff because I don't really have anywhere to put that. So I think I'm going to have to sort through that and get rid of scraps that aren't going to be used and either donate them to something or other or do something else with them. This one here is a bit of a mess, but this is all of my woven fabrics, like fabrics that are ready to be used. So I had been rolling up all of my fabrics nicely and storing them with a nice label on saying whether they'd been pre-washed and what they were and everything. That has been a bit thrown by the wayside and they've all just been chucked in there, so I need to go through that and store them all nicely and think about what I'm going to use them for. And then I've got a few more jersey fabrics all rolled up, ready to go. They look quite neat and tidy actually, apart from that big scrap on the top there. Bottom basket has a load of wires in it, so these are the leads for my sewing machine. And then under that I've just got some random bits and pieces. Glue gun, because you always need one of those. Tailor's ham, actually that's not a tailor's ham, that's one of those, oh, a clapper, tailor's clapper that is, isn't it? I used that when I made my I Am Merlin coat to press the seams really nicely. I haven't really used it since actually. Tailor's ham, some stuffing, and then some other random bits and pieces like a popper thing that you put poppers in with. And then I've got this, which I've not actually used yet, punch pliers. So I think that would be good for doing like bag holes and things like that. I brought that from somewhere like Home Bargains and it was really cheap. But I also have this one, a leather punch. So I do have 2 of those. I'm not sure if I need 2 of those, but they might come in handy. 2 little drawers. One of them just has, again, look at the mess. This has got random bits and pieces like toy eyes, embroidery thread and zips and things like that. So I really need to go through that and sort that out. This one just has stationery in, and actually this was my drawer when I used to do my Etsy orders. So I had all the like tape and string and stuff like that I used to use for Etsy. I'm wondering if that can go somewhere else now actually. This one is a bit out of control. This has got pens and knitting needles in. So these knitting needles are just random odd ones and I use those for turning things through, stuff like that. And then I've just got some random pens, a screwdriver, don't know why that's in there. Some other pens that probably don't even work. And I have this really nice mug that I had for my birthday and that's got my rotary cutter in, another screwdriver. So this is the rotary cutter that I use all the time. And then I've got this little pressing thing. This is for really narrow seams if you can't get the iron in. So this is really good for like toys and things like that. This is a gigantic pot of different scissors. I've got 2 golden baskets and they generally hold things that I'm currently working on. So if I've got anything that I've started but haven't finished, or if I've cut something out ready to go, they tend to go in those baskets. But they really need to sort out as well because I've finished making those 2 things and the scraps are still in there, so that needs a tidy up. My actual workbox here, but I will go through that. I'll open it up and show you what's in that in a minute. As well as that area downstairs, I also have some areas in my bedroom that I store things as neatly as possible. So here I have, this is my old sewing machine. That's my Janome, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a little bit lower spec than the one I have now, but I just keep that as a spare. Next to that I have some carbon paper. The basket at the top there has all of my overlocker threads, different colours, and this box here has more threads in, as does the tin below it. And then the brown box there has various different buttons, and then the 2 tins there are actually what I inherited from my grandma, so they're very special. So they are just filled with different threads and things. I'll show you those in a minute actually. Then I also have these 2 huge baskets. And these house various different things. So the top one here is basically filled with clothes that I'm not wearing at the moment, but I don't quite want to get rid of either. So they tend to stay in there for a little while I decide what to do with them. And then the bottom basket is a bit of a basket of doom at the moment because this is a continuation of like scraps that I've just dumped in here that I didn't know what to do with either. So they all need to come out actually. I need to sort through those. What this should have in it is all of my Etsy shop stuff, so cottons and things that I was using to make my name pillows. I have this which I'm working on, which I really need to get on with actually. This is a Jules box of jelly roll fabrics, and this was kindly sent to me. Various different sort of Jules print fabrics. And I was making a jelly roll quilt, and I've made quite a few blocks for it already, but I just need to get on with it and finish it. And I really want to do that actually, because that would be a lovely quilt for summertime to have in the garden. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how spread out all over the house all my stuff is. I'm just going to go through the baskets that I've just shown you with the clothing in and the scraps and things from work, and see if I can get those in some sort of order. I do think I need to think about the stuff that I'm not using anymore, so the stuff that I mentioned that was from my Etsy shop. Just thought I'd show you some of the other things that I shared that were on top of my chest of drawers. So this is my basket for overlocker threads. They're all just dumped in here really. Then more random threads in here. So I've got quite a lot in here that people have given me over the years. And they're rolls like this, and they're that sort of fluffy cotton. I tend to use Gutermann thread for most things, but I do have some random spools like this. I don't find them the best to use, but I do like to keep them just in case I have a project that needs that particular colour. Then another box here of random things. So I brought this pack of buttons from Amazon actually. I think I was finishing off a knitted cardigan and it was really cheap. I think these are just plastic actually. But I do find that they come in handy now and again for blouses and things. They're not the best quality, but they are quite pretty, and if you don't look too closely then they do look as though they're metal and some kind of pearl. And then in here, this needs a bit of a sort out. I might get my daughter to do this. She loves sorting out all the buttons and things, but I've got some really nice buttons in here that I've just picked up along the way, really. So this is my nice button box, so if I ever need anything nice I will come to this box rather than my one downstairs. These are some vintage ones that I picked up from a vintage fair, I think. They're so pretty. Rings and sliders that I used a couple of for my saltwater slip, but I had to buy like a massive pack from Amazon. Ginormous ones. I think they must have been given to me as well from someone. They would be good for a coat or something, wouldn't they? And then these were the ones that were my grandma's. So this was her work box. And I've just left it as it is, really. But now and again I do have a look in it and see what's there, because it's just so interesting, the things that she used to keep. So I love all the random things like that. I don't even know what that was. Must have had something on it like buttons or something, but I love the picture. And this actually has pins in it. It's an old sellotape tin, 15p for a roll of sellotape. A darning mushroom thing, and lots of darning threads and things like that. Some darning needles, random pipe cleaners. Singer eyeletting tool that's never actually been opened, and that was 30p. And then I think these pieces of cotton that were in here were just kept from clothing, and then I think she used to make them as covers to put over jam jars. And then this one has loads of different cottons in, so it's Silco thread. This one hasn't even been opened actually. I love the wooden cotton spools. Some of them are plastic, but some of them are actually still wooden. Some really nice colours. So this is really handy sometimes if I do just want a random colour of thread that I don't have. There's a wooden one. Love those. And then this, look at this. Every single button ever, I think. Underneath all of those packs and bags is just probably every single button from every single piece of clothing that she ever got rid of. And she used to obviously put them on string if they were a set and keep them together like that. So again, now and again I do come up here and see if there's anything in this tin, if I ever do want any random buttons, and it's always really nice to look through it. So back downstairs now. Upstairs is now done. I think there's still some things up there that I would like to keep together with things that I've got down here, like the threads and things. So I've got a glass of water, and now I'm going to go through that cupboard over there. And I think what I'm going to do is go through all of the little things first. So all the bits and pieces, not the fabrics yet. Just try and sort those out and see what I've got. And then I will think about how I can combine them. I think I'd like to get the scraps out of one of those and upstairs into that empty basket. We'll see how that goes. This is my very old sewing box. It has lots of random things in, but it's very broken actually. It did have a handle that went across here so that you could carry it around, but it's just kind of fallen apart, but I can't bear to get rid of it. So inside here, it's a mess. Lots of randoms, needles, and the little scissors I use all the time when I'm sewing, unpicker, all those kinds of things. Some bobbins that shouldn't really be in there like that, because I do have a bobbin case thing. Lots of pins, lots of machine needles, sewing machine foot that should be on the sewing machine, and marking pens and things like that. They're just in no kind of order. And then this opens out like this. There's definitely a little bit of tidying up to do, so I'm going to leave that to the end. My box of buttons, and this has quite a lot of sort of craft buttons in it. I might actually put that whole box upstairs so that it can be with the other buttons. This box is just full of elastic and binding and things like that. It always gets in such a mess, this one, but I do try and keep it as organised as I can. So I'm just going to go through that now and just wind up the elastic that's escaped and put all the binding together. And then I have this little bowl here that just lives in my cupboard, and this is where I put scraps and things when I'm making things. You know, when you're just trimming bits off and cutting threads and things, I put them all in there, and then it's really easy to throw them in the bin. Next, I moved on to the drawers. This little drawer was probably one of the worst ones actually, because it's so random. So I've got little bits and pieces in here, loads of zips that I just don't know what to do with. I know some people store zips in jars. I might do that actually. I've got an old Kilner jar. Maybe I'll put all my zips in there. Then I've got in this little tin here. I love to collect little tins, and I tend to just put bits and pieces in them. Whoops. So this has some random, very untidy embroidery threads in that I use for different things, so embroidering toy faces and things like that. And I've got some paint, which I think at one time I was actually going to use for painting a toy face, and then I never did. Fabric glue. This pen that I've never used actually, I bought this because I was going to make a hexie quilt with the English paper piecing method, and you can use that for sticking the fabric around the edges of the paper. So a couple of parts on my sewing machine as well, which probably should be somewhere not in that drawer. Some older pattern weights that I don't tend to use much anymore. I have managed to organise this, so I've got pins and pin cushions, that's some rotary cutter blades in there, and then anything from marking fabric, tailor's chalk, pens and things like that, random sewing machine foot that needs to go back on the sewing machine, bobbins and seam rippers and tape measures and things down there, and then point turners and my owl and some little scissors and things in here. And in here I have all my different needles, so I'm happy with that. I can go back on the shelf. Once I'd finished with my workbox and all the bits on the table, the last things to do were the fabric boxes. So I'm just going to get all of my fabrics out on the table and roll them up or sort them out, and then I'll show you what I have left. Okay, so here is everything from my wovens box. So I've rolled everything up in the way that I was doing, and just labelled whether it had been pre-washed or not washed and roughly how much I have of it. So I have 3 denims here, or 1 twill actually. So I've got this denim here, which is only about 1.5 meters. And this one I'm going to use for a 12 for the Jessa jeans. This is the denim that I'd like to eventually use for the proper pair of Jessa trousers if I ever get around to making them. This is a new one. This is what I brought for my Ilford jacket whenever I get around to making that. I still need to buy the pattern. This is a cotton twill. I've got the lovely Silly Brunette double gauze in mustard. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that, but it might be a jumpsuit if it's not too see-through. This lovely crepe from Fabric Godmother, which I eventually want to make a patina blouse from. This one is another new one. So there's 3 meters of this green viscose. And I think what I'm going to make with this is the Pippa dress by Sew Over It. So that was in one of my patterns that I wanted to make for spring and summer this year. And then this one I brought from Minerva when they had their recent sale. I think this has turned out a little bit different to what I was expecting actually. I thought the flowers were going to be smaller, but nonetheless it's really pretty, and I think this will either be a dress or I might make a full-length pair of sapphire trousers to replace my other ones that are getting really old and tatty now. This one is a viscose linen from Abercon Fabrics, and I've not used it yet. I'm not quite sure what to make with this actually, and I keep wondering about a Darling Ranges dress, the version that's just like a shirt, so it doesn't have any gathering or anything to it. But that is my entire collection of woven fabrics. So there wasn't a lot of work to do with knit fabrics, because this is literally all I have, and it was already all rolled up nicely, still in the box. So that was easy. So this one I think I want to make the Stylark Montana dress with. I brought that ages ago, but I haven't got around to it. This is a bamboo jersey, and I was going to make a dress with this for a holiday once upon a time, but then I never got around to it, and if I'm honest, this is very pink for me. So I think what I might make out of this is actually a pyjama set. This one I've had for ages and not used yet. It's just a weird jersey with no stretch to it whatsoever, and a bit of a see-through stripe. And then this one I've shared before, it's just a metre of quite a thick sweatshirting fabric, so can't do a lot with that, but hopefully it will get made into something at some point. This one again wasn't actually too bad. This one has ribbings and also some lining fabrics at the back there and some interfacing. And then I've just got a few scraps. So here's a look at the final cupboards. So up there looks pretty much the same, but it is a little bit more tidy and organised. This one here feels so much better because now I just have those 2 boxes and my sewing machine manuals and some pins and things that I use all the time. This one all rolled up nicely. And then since I had that empty basket where I've moved all the scraps out, I've put my interfacing scraps in that bag and then the lining fabrics in there. I've just got those few jerseys. And then just one basket full of ribbings and edgings and things like that. So this is the pile of fabric scraps that I'm actually going to keep. So these should be big enough to actually do something with. This is what I've actually taken out. So as you can see, I've removed a lot of scraps. So yeah, that should give me much more room to collect more scraps. But I'm going to take those fabrics upstairs, the scraps, and put them in that basket. And then yeah, I'm really pleased I've got more room in that shelving unit. And I did forget to say actually that behind this unit I actually keep my cutting boards and things like that. I just push them behind the unit so they're out of sight. So I am all done and that feels again so much better, and I feel really inspired to just do some sewing now. That's happened every single time I've decluttered something. When I did my patterns, when I did my wardrobe, and now when I've done my sewing space. It just makes your head feel so much clearer, I think, doesn't it? And I really like how I've made some space for things that should be where they're supposed to be now, if that makes sense. So behind me, all of the fabrics are there now, and everything in that cupboard is all sewing related. So I hope you enjoyed coming along with me on that little tidying and organising spree. And I hope it was interesting to see where I store everything as well in my small sewing space. If you do have any better ideas or suggestions for me as to how I could store things, then please do let me know. So yes, thank you so much for watching everyone. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. I do post every week on a Sunday at 8 AM. If you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like as well. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.